Welcome back, beloved. This is Between Lovers, the Heart and Soul Chronicles. I'm T, your sacred guide and nocturnal philosopher. I was late working on this one last night because there's so much that needs to be said and even more that needs healing. Now, this was a highly requested episode by both men and women. I tried to wait until the end of the series to share it, but I knew it couldn't be the final episode. It needed its own breath, its own truth, its own space to land. Because so many couples, so many humans, period, are dealing with one, if not all, of the complexities discussed in this offering. If you've ever experienced dating, partnerships, or even the ache of unrequited love, these things, they've likely crossed your doorstep in this lifetime. So, as you listen, please be patient with yourself. Sit gently with your wounds. Don't rush to fix or judge, just feel. Because what shows up in our relationships is often what's been hiding inside of us for years. And this isn't just about romantic partners. These truths echo in our connections with our children, our families, and even our friends. So let this episode be a mirror. And if you're brave enough, a map home to yourself. Welcome to the Divine Partnership Series. This is When Desire Goes Quiet, Love, Hormones, and the Truth Between Us. When desire fades, most couples assume the love is gone. But what if it's just unspoken pain, unshifted hormones, and needs that were never met? In this powerful episode, I hope we explore what's really causing the distance, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. When love still exists but intimacy feels out of reach. From hormonal truths after 30 to the wounds we've never addressed. This episode is a soul deep reckoning for any couple navigating a quiet space between touch. And honestly, for anyone, you don't even have to be a couple. You're an individual, you're a human, so yes, you can relate to these things. We also explore an essential truth. If your bond began with sex, that foundation will echo through your connection, and it must be addressed with tenderness, clarity, and emotional growth. This isn't a blame game, it's a call home to your body, to your truth, and to the love that still wants to rise. Let's do a little spoken word as the intro. Desire was waiting for us to speak first. Desire never leaves, it hides in the silence, beneath the words we're too afraid to say, between the nights we turned away, inside the wound we never named. The body remembers everything, even the nights we faked sleep because truth would have broken the routine. But routine is not intimacy, it's just agreement. And love, real love, was never supposed to be quiet. Now, let's talk about how when the body changes, the rules must too. Let's talk about hormones just a little bit because most couples don't really know what's happening in their bodies after 30. Women's bodies begin shifting hormonally. Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, they fluctuate. Libido, vaginal moisture, energy, and desire aren't gone. They just evolved. Men's testosterone naturally drops about 1% per year after age 30. It affects not just arousal, but confidence, drive, and connection. So, if you don't talk about it, you internalize it. You know how it goes. She thinks she's no longer attractive, he thinks he's no longer desired, and both begin to perform instead of connect. Truth? Desire after 30 is earned differently. It has to be through emotional safety, not just stimulation. You see, the body doesn't lie, but when we ignore its evolution, we start performing the memory of desire instead of honoring what it now needs to feel real. And if there was never a strong emotional blueprint to begin with, just chemistry, charm, and physical intensity, then the relationship starts to collapse under the weight of what was never actually built. Because many couples, their relationship didn't begin with understanding, it began with escape, with pleasure before presence, and with sex before safety. If your connection began with sex before emotional knowing, the patterns of that beginning will echo later in the relationship. The sex becomes the language you rely on to feel close. Intimacy may feel like pressure instead of pleasure. Conversations about needs, wounds, and growth may be underdeveloped, even years in. The emotional floor never gets poured because the physical ceiling went up too fast. And most of all, you missed the chance to be a friend first, to study the person, to learn who they are, to feel into their soul before being pulled into their body. Because once sex enters early, it can numb your discernment, it blurs your boundaries, and it can distract you from the truth you were meant to learn before you touched. This isn't a shame message, it's a truth alert. A house built on pleasure without presence may feel good at first, but without soul, safety, and emotional grounding, it won't secure, and it won't feel like home for long. Because even if the connection holds for a while, the foundation will eventually crack under the weight of real life. True relational joy, true relational joy requires learning each other emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, cyclically, hormones, trauma, the seasons of life. Without that, the sex may stay, but the soul won't feel safe. And when the soul doesn't feel safe, the body becomes quiet. The touch becomes routine. The relationship, it starts to feel like someone you manage, not something you moved by. Emotional silence feels like rejection, creating a sacred grief in most long term relationships. It sounds like we haven't touched in months. I don't want to be the only one trying. Or they sleep next to me, but I feel alone. But here's the truth most won't admit: the bedroom is not where intimacy ends, it's where disconnection is exposed. You can't skip emotional honesty and expect physical closeness to flourish. One bleeds into the other always. Many people are not emotionally ready for a relationship, not because they don't want love, but because they've never been taught how to hold one. You cannot build something sacred with someone when you are still responding to life through wounds. Most people aren't resisting intimacy. They're reenacting what no one ever helped them process. And when pain goes unnamed for too long, it becomes the baseline, not because it's healthy, but because it's familiar. Now, I know this is rarely discussed, most likely because it's not being taught to discuss your hormones. And the childhood wounds seeping into daily adult life, desire, and what changes in the body. We're just not talking about those things regularly. And these are conversations that have to start as early as possible with a person. You've got to learn how to express this stuff as a child. Also, vulnerability still feels like weakness in many homes. And wounds from childhood, fear, rejection, shame, abandonment, they show up silently in adult intimacy. So we perform, we withhold, and we avoid. But love was never meant to survive in performance, it was meant to heal through presence. Okay, now let's scratch the surface of a hot topic. When intimacy isn't initiated, one partner may feel unwanted, unseen, and unworthy. The other may be avoiding it due to fear of failure or rejection. And without the glue of affection or routine, the truth starts to rise. Maybe you're just not meant for each other anymore. Not as a lie, but as a reality that was once buried beneath comfort, chemistry, or codependency. Because when the physical fades, the real versions of each person finally show up. And if they were never emotionally compatible to begin with, the distance doesn't hurt, it reveals. Distance doesn't always mean disinterest. It could mean a need is unmet and unspoken. Unspoken doesn't mean forgotten. It could mean it's gone underground, where it grows roots in the nervous system, in the choices we make, in the people we pick, and in the patterns we call love. What's never said becomes a script, first in the home you were raised in, then in the love you tried to build. And eventually, what we couldn't name at home we start reenacting in love. If a child watched their mother disrespected and she never left, they might learn to measure love by endurance. They may tolerate what should have been healed. They may perform peace while secretly burning. A man may push a woman he loves all the way to the edge just to see what it takes for her to walk away. Why, you ask? Because he's still trying to find understanding as to why his mother never did. If a good woman finally does leave, he may not just grieve her, he may begin to resent the mother who stayed. That confusion festers, that anger deepens, and love becomes unsafe again. I have a little spoken word interlude for you. It's called The Third Partner Was the Wound. He stopped reaching for her, thinking she didn't want him anymore. She stopped speaking her need, thinking he was no longer drawn to her. They both missed each other, in the same bed, beneath the same moon, longing for the same kiss. But silence became the third partner in their relationship, and it was winning. And under that silence, something deeper. She wanted to feel safe, not just touched. But his boyhood wounds showed up in the way he sulked, in his silence when he was held accountable, and in the entitlement that made love feel like a job instead of a joy. And he wanted to feel seen, not just needed. But her unhealed abandonment came crawling through the cracks, in that constant need for reassurance, in the emotional validity when plans changed, in the helplessness she wore like perfume. And slowly, the desire began to rot because the child inside each of them was still trying to be parented. She became clingy, not sensual, desperate, not desirable. Her inability to self regulate became a spiritual weight, and her neediness, masked as love, revealed a woman still grieving a parent's absence, disregard, or impatience, while expecting her partner to stay and prove he wouldn't leave too. Attraction turned to obligation. Romance turned to rescue. He started seeing her as a mother figure, demanding, emotional, never satisfied. But she started behaving like a wounded child, insecure, emotionally immature. Her voice no longer carried the tone of a woman, but of a girl afraid to be left alone. And the moment her wholeness was replaced by need, his desire followed the exit sign. But here's the part most won't name. He expected choosing her meant she was responsible for his emotional needs, because somewhere along the way, he was conditioned to believe that love meant being mothered. His mother may have done it all, or she may have emotionally abandoned him altogether. But either way, his model of love was of caretaking, not partnership. And the truth is, there will be nothing she can ever do to satisfy him, because he's chasing maternal acceptance, not intimacy. And she, a grown woman, is not attracted to a man who acts like her son, not emotionally, not sexually, not spiritually. Because relationship behavior is not just modeled by the one who abandoned you, it's shaped by the one who raised you. But we'll dig deeper into that next season. Let's get to some real talk reflections. Asking the real questions. Are you mad about sex or the silence? Are you feeling rejected or just emotionally shut out? Do you want to be desired or do you want to be seen? Most of us want both, but it starts with the mirror and the courage to say, I still want you. I just need to feel safe again. Soul teaching. Reconnection is a ritual, not a rescue. Rebuilding intimacy looks like talking before touching, listening before leading, curiosity before criticism, inviting before expecting, and recognizing that emotional and hormonal shifts are not rejection. They're invitations to explore new forms of closeness. Touch becomes sacred when it is chosen, not assumed. All right, my darlings, I have a final blessing for you, and that is, may you both become fluent in truth before you become fluent in touch. May your hormones become holy, your honesty become healing, and your desire become divine again. Because love didn't die, It just got buried underneath unsaid things. And this is your resurrection. Whether you're holding on with both hands or gently letting go, just know it's not all broken. Some relationships are here to grow you, others are here to free you. And the most sacred ones, oh, they do both. Love doesn't always mean staying, but it always means learning. And you, beloved, are learning to choose yourself with more clarity, more patience, more compassion, and way less guilt than before. Keep going. Whether it's toward each other or back to yourself, either way, you're coming home. We've covered a lot in a short amount of time. Just to offer a little insight into some really layered topics, I wanted to brush the surface. We'll get back to this. If you guys let me know that you need more of this, you gotta leave comments. You gotta review. Talk to me. All right. And I know this episode won't solve every problem, but I do hope it gave you something real to reflect on. But my prayer and my promise is that this series existing will begin the process of changing it for you to make your life fuller, more honest, more aligned, and for some of you, that realization may lead to hard decisions. You might feel led to end relationships, to step back from friendships, to switch careers, to finally walk away from the version of yourself that you outgrew years ago. I've been there and I truly understand. Please don't be hard on yourself for that. It takes an incredibly strong person to know when it's time to release, to hold themselves accountable for what they've allowed, to become responsible with how they live, and to choose growth even at the cost of their own comfort. That, beloved, that's sacred maturity. That is love in action. Thank you for walking with me. If your heart has been stirred even a little, and you're ready to lean into that discomfort that leads to truth, I go deeper into this in my Loving Discovery and Sacred Discovery books. They are both available on my website, on Amazon, and on TikTok. Or maybe it's time to begin something softer. Maybe a course, a session, a sacred rhythm of remembering what love can be. Wherever you are in your journey, if I'm meant to walk with you, I'll meet you there. And if I can assist, believe me, I've got you. Now, maybe this is just the first layer. Maybe what comes next is the part where we stop surviving love and start feeling it again. You know, the breath, the pause, the almost touch. If something inside you flickered, don't blow it out. We might not be done yet. I'm T. This is Between Lovers. Until next time, walk gently, walk boldly, walk soulfully. Peace.